Invasive species management by Sophie Fenwick. Invasive species which are non-native to the area that they now currently reside are also known as alien species. They are known for reproducing at a fast rate which can overpopulate areas of which they are not native to. This causes their population to overtake the native species. Environmental impacts include the decline of native species in comparison to the invasive species population growing. Economic impacts include forest loss that can result in economic costs for the country to pay. Social impacts include the country creating social networks to create solutions on the invasive species issue. Key traits that make the species invasive include they reproduce quickly, they have a competitive nature, and they have the ability to adapt to different environments. Invasive species spread through goods being imported by other countries. This is often unintentional. Research projects show that London is a huge hotspot for invasive species due to the high amount of transport that occurs every day. Giant hogweed is an example of a plant invasive species. Grey squirrel is an example of an animal invasive species. And sudden oak death is an example of a pathogen invasive species. Invasive species can be spread by boats, vehicles and planes, people, pet trades, and plant trades. A successful invasive species management story is the American mink. The American mink was moved to the UK for farming in the 1950s. If they were not controlled, this would lead to the population of the water vole declining massively. They removed the American mink by placing humane traps to capture the minks, then killing them for scientific examination. Smart traps would notify people to make sure the minks were taken from the traps and killed. This was successful as there was a decreased amount of mink found in Suffolk compared to other years. Ways to prevent the introduction of invasive species includes early detecting, using methods such as acoustic monitoring, camera traps, and DNA left by the invasive species. By putting legislation and policies in place, this can prevent any of the invasive species from entering the country. Educating the public can allow them to understand how invasive non-native species spread into England and how to contact the Environmental Agency. Tools to detect invasive species early includes camera traps to see them present on the camera, DNA left by the invasive species, which means that you can see if there's been any invasive species past or present, and acoustic monitoring, which listens to the environment to see if there's any invasive species making any noise. To control invasive populations, you can manually remove the invasive species. This is more likely to be used on plants as you can just uproot it. You can alter human practice by stopping travel or altering regulations of trade, or you can eliminate the species by capturing and eliminating them to decrease their population. Laws that manage invasive species include the Wildlife and Countryside Act, the Invasive Alien Species EU Exit Regulations 2019, and the Environmental Protection Act 1990. Thank you for listening. These are my references.